In this video, I'll demonstrate how to create a SubD asset. I'll go over the modeling process, UV unwrapping, baking simple textures, and preparing the model so that it's ready for the next step in the production pipeline. Before we begin, we'll need to turn on the following add-ons or extensions. Go ahead and pause the video and check if you have activated all these in your Blender preferences. In addition to this, you'll need to download my primitive collection. There's both a free and paid version. I've attached the links in the description of this video. Now without further ado, let's start modeling. Alright, so I'm going to start off by grabbing a cone from my primitive collection, and I'm just going to move that down, make sure that it's centered. I'll grab the verts at the top, and then I'm just going to move those on top just to capture the height of it roughly. Then I'll go ahead and grab the verts at the top, and I'm just going to circularize this, and I'm going to use the loop tool circle function here. Now once I've gone ahead and done that, I'm going to scale this out slightly, and then I'm going to inset the face and extrude it. Actually, let's undo that. I'll go ahead and insert it once again, and then I'll extrude it. I'll add a control loop just to control the curvature of that edge on the outside there. And I'll go ahead and just get rid of the cap at the bottom. Now I'll place an edge loop right about there. And I'm going to select the faces around there. But before I do that, I'll just go ahead and use the edge slide function here just to better position that edge loop. Now I'll go ahead and select the entire loop there, and I'm going to extrude that along the normals. So now that I've gone ahead and extruded along the normals, I'm going to select the faces on the top, and I'm going to use loop tools and flatten that, and then I'll select the bottom and repeat the process. So I'm using Shift R here to repeat that command. Now I'll go ahead and flatten these faces along the y-axis and repeat that on the other side as well. And then I'll grab these two faces and flatten them on the x-axis and do the same for the other side. Now we've roughly got the shape of the base there. Now I'll cut in another edge loop, and I'll inset the faces again at the top and the bottom in order to create some additional control loops in order to control the softness or sharpness of the edge there. I'll then grab the loop at the bottom there at the site of the open face, and I'm going to scale that in slightly. I'll then go ahead and extrude that and drag it all the way up along the z-axis. Now I'm going to scale that down, and once I'm happy, I'll just go ahead and apply a grid fill function to this. I'll also adjust the offset so that the faces align correctly. So I'll just review the mesh here, and once I'm happy with it, what I'm going to do is add a inset and set it to outset. So now I'm going to work on just one quadrant. So what I'll do is delete all the other faces so that we only have to do 1/4 of the work. I'll go ahead and add a mirror modifier and then mirror it on the X and Y axis. And now we'll start to cut in some loops here. Now using the knife tool, I'm just going to cut across along the y-axis, and then I'm going to cut across on the x-axis. So I'm just snapping it to the center there and then cutting it like so. I'll also get rid of that edge that we've got there. That was creating a triangle. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply a subdivision surface modifier to it and also shade smooth. So now I'm going to select the edges there and I'm going to slide them across in order to control the radius of that corner that we have there. So using the edge slide, I'm just going to slightly shift it off to the side like that. And once I'm happy, I'll just go ahead and accept that. And now I'm also going to repeat this with the edge that we have there. So again, I'm going to apply an edge slide in order to shift it down like that. And I'm roughly eyeballing this. And once I'm happy with the radius of those corners, I'll go ahead and accept that. And now I'll just review the mesh. Now I'll cut another edge loop and bevel it in order to control the sharpness of that edge. I'll review the mesh once again, just to ensure that we don't have any unwanted artifacts as a result of performing all those modeling operations. Now we're going to focus on the tip of the cone again. And what we're going to do now is just apply a loop there and bevel it in order to create a control set of control loops. And now I'm just going to review that. And once I've gone ahead and done that, I'll just select the edge that we have there in order to control the sharpness of the outer side. And I'm just going to slide that up ever so slightly till I'm happy with the curvature on the outside. So just going to linger around and see how that looks. And once I'm happy, I'm going to go ahead and select that edge that we have there in the middle, and I'm going to shift that. But before I do that, I'll go ahead and apply a mirror modifier and then adjust the location of that loop. So I want a tighter corner on the inside, and so I've gone ahead and done that. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete the rest of those edges that are creating triangles in our mesh. And I'll also add a control loop here at the on the inside of that mouth that we have there. And I'll just turn on and off the subdivision surface modifier to review the mesh. Now I want to adjust the vertices here. I think that they're not placed ideally. So I'll go ahead and smooth that and just repeat that across all four sides. Now apply that subdivision, activate our subdivision surface modifier, and just check the mesh and make sure that everything looks good. And so I'm pretty happy with where it is now. All right, so now what I'm going to do is add two more loops. So I'll cut these two loops and use the edge slide to adjust them. These are not going to contribute to the model in any way. These loops are just there to create material separation. So using the edge slide, I'm just going to move this loop around, and this is going to determine the thickness of the white band that's going to be in the middle there. And I'll turn on the subdivision surface modifier just to check how that looks. So once I'm happy with this, what I'll do is I'll go ahead now and start to make some selections. So I'll select some of the boundary loops here. So this loop at the top, I'll make sure to select the vertical loop that is running along there. I'll cut a loop, I'll select a loop at the base of the cone, and then I'll select the two edges on the base of the cone as well. And then the edge right at the mouth of the cone, and I'll cut another vertical loop on the inside, which is basically parallel to what we have on the outside, and I'll select the boundary loop on the top as well. Just make sure to select the right edges there, and once that's done, we're going to mark all of these as seams. And this is going to help us unwrap this. I'll make sure to select those two boundary loops as well and cut a seam along the inside of that cylindrical form that we have there. And now that I've made all my selections, I'm going to mark these as a seam. Now I missed out one of the corners there. I'm going to go ahead and select that one as well. And now it's time to mark this as a seam. So I'll just make sure that I've selected all the edges that I need. Just looking to see if I missed anything out. And once that's done, I'll hop into our UV editing tab. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see my keystrokes here, so you'll forgive me for that. Now, what I'm going to do is just select all the faces here, and I will hit U on the keyboard and just unwrap this. So that's gone ahead and unwrapped the model along the seams that we've just cut. So once this is done, I'll go into our extension called Meo3. And before I do anything, I'm going to assign a material to this cone that we have here. So I'll select all the faces and assign that newly created material. After that is done, I'll make sure to give this a checker map. So I'll give it a checker map that is about 2K in resolution. So go ahead and apply that checker map. So now you can see we've got some funkiness going on with our checker map, and we are going to resolve that. So I'll just turn on our subdivision surface modifier as well, because this model is going to be uh, subdivided, and we'll grab the island that we have there. So I'm selecting linked, and then I'm separating that. And now I'm going to also turn on um, our UV guides, and I'll gridify the selection. Now I'll select the other UV island that we've got, that's pie shaped there, and I'll apply the same function. Now we've got some distortions along the UV seam, and we'll fix that in just a moment. So what I'll do is I'll head on over to our subdivision modifier under advanced. I'll change UV smooth from keep boundary to keep corners, and that should alleviate any problems that we have there. Now, once that is done, I'll go ahead and average the scale so that the islands are somewhat averaged out. And then I'll head on over to our other extension called Match QV. I'll check Pack UV, and then I'll hit Pack UV. Now, I forgot to actually create any kind of padding and margin for this. So what I'll do is go ahead and select all our UV islands once again. And once I've done that, I'll hit Pack once again and expand our option there and create a margin of 0.05. Now I'm not going to fuss over this too much because our model is really simple here. Now in the 3D viewport, I'm just going to make sure that our checker map is roughly the same size. There is some amount of distortion there, but we're not going to worry about it too much since the texture that we're going to be applying is fairly simple. So I'll just review the mesh just to ensure that we have no problems, and then we will switch back to our layout mode and just taking another look at it, just making sure that we don't have too many problems there with the checker map. Alright, so now that we've set up our checker map and everything looks good, we'll head on over to our shading tab. But before we go ahead and start with that, let's just go ahead and remove that checker map that we created. So once I've gone ahead and deleted that, we'll hop back into our shading tab, And now we'll start to edit the material that we've created. So I'll just head on over to our material properties, and I'll change the color to about orange. I'm not basing this on anything specific. I'm just eyeballing the color here. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and play around with the roughness. We'll just review the model. And once we've gone ahead and done that, I'll tab into edit mode and select the faces there. And we'll assign a new material to this and make sure that the base color is white. And that's going to be that white banding that I mentioned early on. And I'll also match the roughness. So once I've gone ahead and done that, what I'll do is hit Control T in order to bring up our image texture, and I'm going to do this for both our materials. I'll then go ahead and create a new image texture, and we'll set it to 32-bit float. And once I've gone ahead and done that, I'll select our mesh and the newly created image texture, and I'll set our render engine to EV and device to GPU compute. I'll then head on over to our baking option here, and I'll change it to diffuse, the bake type to diffuse, and I'll remove direct and indirect lighting so that it doesn't influence our map. I'll then hit bake and then head on over to our UV editing tab, and I'll expand the drop down menu here. And now you can see that we've gone ahead and captured one material. Now what we'll do is we'll head on over to our second material, and now I'll just go to the drop down menu here and select the orange texture map that we just extracted, and we'll go back to our baking option, and this time I'm going to uncheck clear image. This way we'll bake the white banding that we have there on that cone onto the orange. So once we do that, we can go ahead and remove the material that we had, and we'll connect the image texture to the principal BSDF. And I'll also go ahead and rename our image texture to something like cone underscore texture and just leave it as that. So once that is done, we'll go ahead and go back to our layout, go back to our 3D viewport. And let's not forget to save our texture. So we go ahead to image and we'll just save our texture. Now I've already gone ahead and saved this. Now let's move on to the next step, which is going to be setting it up for real world scale. So now we're going to ensure that we set this to real world scale. So I'm just going to expand our end panel, go to item, and under dimensions, I'm going to give it about 70 centimeters in height. And for the X and Y value, what I'll do is give about a value of 35 centimeters or so. And now we have something that's a lot more reasonable. What we had before was just too large, and now we are at a pretty decent size. The next thing we are going to do is reposition the origin of the object. So what I'm going to do is create a temporary face. So I'll select the edge there and just fill it in, and then I'll split the face so that I can select the vertex in the middle and set our origin to the selection. And once that's done, we've got the origin right at the bottom of our object there, and I'll get rid of that temporary face that I've created there. So we'll go ahead and just send that to the 3D cursor, and now it's sitting properly on the 3D grid that we have there. Now if we go ahead and scale this, it'll scale from that origin, and that's exactly what we want. And now everything is set up the way we want it and is ready for the next step in the production pipeline. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you found it informative. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. And with that, I'll talk to you in the next video, or you could watch one of the suggested videos on your screen right now.